Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As Russia's invasion of its neighbor now in its fifth week, Ukraine's government is sending dozens of buses to Mariupol in a fresh effort to bring out evacuees and deliver humanitarian aid. Russia now has to declare a one-day ceasefire in the port city, but there is skepticism if it will hold. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine is bracing for a new Russian offensive in the east. And there is more in this report.
Небагато слів, немає багато часу, і є дуже багато емоцій.
The peace talks between Ukraine and Russia are continuing, but for the moment, there are just words, nothing concrete. That's according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a televised address late on Wednesday. Mr. Zelensky also adds that Ukraine is seeing a build-up of Russian forces for new strikes on the Donbas region and that Ukraine is preparing for the attacks.
Ми знаємо, що це не відведення, а наслідки вигнання, наслідки роботи наших захисників.
Mr. Zelensky also spoke of his call with U.S. President Joe Biden on whether discussed additional U.S. aid, sanctions, and Kyiv's peace talks with Russia. The United States intends to give Ukraine $500 million in direct budgetary aid. In the meantime, the mayor of Irpin says the number of dead residents have reached several hundred. Mayor Alexander Makushin claims that about 300 Irpin residents have been killed, according to preliminary estimates. The mayor also adds that the battles for the liberation of the city have left at least 100 soldiers killed. However, the mayor says the number of victims will increase because during the occupation of the city by Russian troops, the bodies of the dead were buried in yards and parks. Away from Irpin, images shared by the head of Luhansk's regional state administration show destruction at an oil depot in the eastern Ukrainian region of Luhansk. They claim to show the consequences of the shelling of the site in Lysychansk. And as Russia shifts the focus of its invasion to the east, Ukraine too is shifting its defense of towns and cities. In Izium, 20,000 residents are practically surrounded by Russian forces after 3 weeks of fierce battles. Elsewhere, Ukraine is also gearing up for attacks in other parts of the country. In southern Ukraine, it is not just the Ukrainian army that is getting ready. The locals are also getting ready to help by any means. They say they are going to the Black Sea city of Odessa, where the war has brought the locals closer and where civilians are doing everything they can to support the many refugees and soldiers at the front line. President Zelensky is urging Australia to help arm his country and send Bushmaster armored vehicles to help his forces fight against Russia. Mr. Zelensky made the comments in a special address to MPs and senators gathered in the House of Representatives.
Any vessel that will try to come in can simply be destroyed by the Russian Navy. More than hundreds of trade vessels under different flags have been blocked by Russia in our ports. For dozens of years, we haven't seen this in the world. For a country to start the war against a neighboring country, openly declaring their enslavement or destruction.
In the U.S., Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby in a presser was asked about reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin has not been informed by his Ministry of Defense of Russia's lack of progress in Ukraine. He said the Pentagon agrees with those assessments, but said the reports are concerning because it could impact negotiations between Russia and Ukraine.
Kyiv, probably in the neighborhood of 20% of what they had, they are beginning to reposition. Some of those troops we assess are repositioning into Belarus. We don't have an exact number for you, but that's our early assessments. None of them, we have seen none of them reposition to their home garrison. And that's not a small point. If the Russians are serious about de-escalating, because that's their claim here.
Still on the war, in Granada, Spain, a team of 52 refugee Ukrainian skiers are practicing at the Sierra Nevada The team comprises 45 children between ages 10 and 16 and 7 trainers. Local families have opted to help subsidize the cost for the refugee Ukrainian children training in Spain.